WDGL HD2. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday, about half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Plenty to do. JD Pickell, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports, with us in 15 minutes. College football playoff cranking up this weekend, Friday night in chilly South Bend. Really frigid South Bend, if we're being honest. And then Saturday, just a buffet of important football. We'll talk to JD about all of that coming up. It's a What If Wednesday, taking your submissions via Twitter and, of course, in the Bayou Ford chat. Netflix doing a TV show. Well, not a TV show, I guess. Is that a TV show? It's a series on the LSU, the SEC, and its football programs. We'll talk a little bit about that. Matthew Bruni at 2 o'clock talking hoops. Brandon Drum covers Oklahoma for 24/7, and he's going to jump aboard at 2:15. Of course, LSU pulls in Bauer Sharp last week as a tight end. Nick Anderson pledges to the Tigers, which we talked a little bit about yesterday. Just want Brandon's thoughts on those two guys. He got to watch Nick Anderson's big season 2 years ago in Norman, and then saw Bauer Sharp in his 1 year at Oklahoma as well. So we'll talk to Brandon Drum about that at 2:15. And I think that this has an opportunity to be a more comfortable second act for Spencer Rattler. We'll do a little bit of that in the second hour. But we'll start the show the same way we start it every single day, with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Every car on the lot at Genesis Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Last night in the PMAC, I was there. You probably weren't, judging by the size of the crowd, and that's okay. I told you yesterday that Stetson was awful. And as I sit here today, it's been about 23 hours since I previewed this basketball game. Stetson is still awful. Really, really awful. And they showed that in record-setting fashion last night inside the PMAC. Stetson missed their first 16 shots from the floor. They were held scoreless for nearly 10 minutes to start this basketball game. And when I tell you they earned every bit of that, I am 100% sincere. They didn't handle the ball well. They didn't have a lot of quickness. They didn't have much size or strength. They didn't show a lot of skill. They didn't look organized. They didn't look comfortable. It was as awful an offensive effort for the first 10 minutes of that basketball game as I have ever watched in that arena. And I've been going to games in the PMAC now for 18 years. I mean, just awful. And LSU does deserve, and I use my hands here, this much credit. Because LSU's a pretty good defensive team. Their first shot defense is some of the best in college basketball. They've got some length and some quickness. They block some shots now. They're veteran. They're a good defensive team. They don't rebound it like they should, but they're a good defensive team. That doesn't even excuse what I watched last night from Stetson. It was some kind of futile. And when the dust settled, they had scored 10 points in the first half, and they needed to make 2 of their last 3 shots in the first half to get that done. Keep in mind, the statistics from this effort were jarring. If I go and pull this up and we look at where Stetson was after 17 and a half minutes of play, Stetson was 2 of 28 from the floor. They made 2 of their last 3 shots in the first period, both of which were by Ellison, the point guard, to go 4 of 31 in the first half. I wrote this for LouisianaSports.net in my post game, but if you look at the first half box, Mekhi Ellison, their point guard, went 3 of 8 from the floor. That means the rest of the team went 1 of 23 from the floor. It was historic stuff. It was the fewest points LSU had held a team in the first half since LSU held, shockingly, Auburn to 6 in 2011, and even more shockingly, since LSU in East Rutherford held North Carolina to 9 first-half points in 1982. If it sounds like a long time ago, it was. Michael Jordan was a young player on the 1982 North Carolina Tar Heels team. I'm stunned that LSU held North Carolina to 9 points at any point in history, but this was 10 for Stetson. It was awful. And that's basically the story of the game, because LSU built such a massive first-half lead that there wasn't a lot to draw from the second half. It was 47-10 at halftime. By the way, really nice putback by Derek Fountain at the end of the game there. But it was 47-10 at halftime. So, yes, it's, less than ideal that Stetson scored 43 points in the second half. But how can you really keep your defensive intensity? And to LSU's credit, as Stetson rolled up 43 points in the second half, LSU scored 52. So Stetson never threatened in any way, shape, or form, like none. It was basically a 35-point game the majority of the second half. It got up to nearly 50 near the end of the game. So I told you yesterday that what I was looking for in this game was LSU to rebound the basketball and to take care of it. That's what I was most concerned with. Now, Stetson sold the show with complete offensive ineptitude, but I do have to talk about what LSU actually did in this game. And I'll tell you, for Stetson to miss 41 shots in this game, that's a lot of missed field goals, and only get 7 offensive rebounds, that's a good job by LSU. Now, Stetson's one of the worst teams in the country, so you don't get like a huge bouquet of flowers, but like here's like a Reese's cup. Like that's a nice effort to hold Stetson to 7 offensive rebounds in the game. And I thought LSU, from a turnover perspective, did a good job in this game. LSU only turned the ball over 11 times. I said I'd really like to keep it around 10. Jai Bailey had 3 of those turnovers. Victorious Miller had 2 turnovers there. I was hoping when I checked the final box score that one of the walk-ons would have tossed a turnover in there that I could kind of scrap from the record and get it to 10 for the guys that are going to play the majority of the minutes, but couldn't. It was all scholarship guys that had turnovers in the game. Maybe you could toss that into Noah Boyd, who had a turnover late for in his 2 minutes of action, but it was a good enough effort for LSU on the glass. And it was a good enough effort for LSU as far as keeping the basketball. You look at the stat sheet for the Tigers and some of the things that jumped out to me. LSU shot the 3 very well in this game. LSU was 14 of 31. That's 45% from 3. And specifically, Victorious Miller was 4 of 6. I believe he was 5 of 20 in the last 4 games. So for him to come out there and knock down 4 of 6 was good. We talked to Victorious after the game. He said, I don't want to call it a slump, but I just was glad to get out there and knock some shots down. That's a good thing for him. Curtis Givens made 3 threes. No, he put 9 of them up, so it wasn't like he lit it up there, but it was good to see Curtis Givens knock down a couple of shots there. Corey Chest, 5th consecutive game for LSU with double-digit rebounds. He had 10 rebounds, and he only played 20 minutes in the game, so that's getting after it on the glass. LSU assisted on 23 of their 35 makes. I thought that was a very good number for LSU, and those assist numbers include 6 from Curtis Givens, who only had 1 turnover. Candidly, I've been a little bit underwhelmed with Curtis Givens. Hold your horses. I'm not going nuts here. I really expected a lot from Curtis Givens and still do. I think his future is bright. I thought he'd have a little bit more impact early. I did not think Victorious Miller would play a lot of minutes early, and he has. So it's kind of been a flip. But Curtis Givens is very much LSU's second point guard. Mike Williams did not play in this game. That, to me, speaks massively, massively loudly, because you played Adam Benayoun, you played Trace Young, you played Noah Boyd. Like, they cleared the bench out in the last 2 minutes of this game, and Mike Williams never got off the bench.
We talked about that last week, too.
Yeah, you were up by 45 points, and he never got off the bench. That, I'm not going to speculate on anything. As far as I know, there are no injuries, but, I mean, I don't need to go very much further into that. You've got a guy on scholarship on your team. Everyone else who dressed was on the floor. He didn't play. That speaks pretty loudly. So that tells you that I thought Mike Williams would be the second point guard, because Mike Williams played pretty well last year. He shot it very well. But looks like Curtis Givens is that guy, and he's turned the ball over a little bit. He shot it very poorly before last night, and he just hasn't really been impactful in the minutes that he's been on the floor. But last night, he took a step forward. It's against a bad team with a bad backcourt in a blowout game with no pressure, but you got to start somewhere, and I thought Givens did a pretty good job in that game. The scoring was very balanced. Givens with 12, Miller with 16, Chess with 13, Cam Carter with 16, Jai Bailey with 14. Jordan Sears had kind of a light night. He did dish out 3 assists and grab 5 rebounds, which I do appreciate from the point guard spot. But this was one where you're just going to struggle to dive too deeply into this game and try to pull things out. Stetson is one of the worst teams in the country. We told you last in the show yesterday that their one win of the season was against New College of Florida, and I don't think they're going to get one anytime soon because that is – I'm not 100% confident my intramural team would have scored in the first 10 minutes against LSU, but I'm 75% confident my intramural team of 2008 would have scored a point on LSU in the first 9.5 minutes, and Stetson couldn't quite pull that off. They missed their first 16 shots of the game. So for LSU, it's just one where you wipe that taste of the SMU game away. You try to move forward, but you understand if you're an LSU fan that you're looking at New Orleans coming up on Sunday, then you're looking at another week off, and you're looking at a Mississippi Valley State team coming in on Saturday that is quite literally the bottom-ranked team in the net. They are last, and UNO is in the bottom 30. So your last 3 non-conference games, just the way they shook out, there's just nothing on the bone. So LSU is just going to have to go out there, compete against themselves to an extent, get as comfortable as they can and get ready to go in Southeastern Conference play. Last night's final score, 99-53. LSU wins the game by 46 points over Stetson and holds the Hatters to the fewest number of points in the first half in the history of the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. That is speaking pretty loudly there in terms of what we watched in the Assembly Center last night. Our opening drive brought to you by Genesis of Baton Rouge. I want to remind you, some folks saw this on Twitter and weren't aware of it. I'll try to keep reminding you as we get into conference play and folks really flip from football season to portal season to bowl season to actual basketball season. All of my basketball content is going to be archived at the old Hoops with Hunt podcast feed. Wherever you get your podcast, wherever you get your sound, you can find Hoops with Hunt, which will be repurposed content from this show, all my basketball stuff. So if you don't want to sift through all the other stuff with the Saints and the portal and bowl prep and whatever the case may be that we're talking about, you just want some hoops, you can find it at Hoops with Hunt, wherever you used to find it 3 years ago, or you can just search it wherever you find your podcast. They are always there. It's Hoops with Hunt. We'll step aside for a timeout. When we come back, JD Pickell, host of the Hard Count, talking college football playoff. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is that website. Whole home audio, TV installation, video surveillance. If Santa Claus is potentially going to show up with a new television and you're kind of looking at this going, I could try to mount this thing and deal with the surround sound and all that, but I'm not 100% confident. I got some folks for you. Audio Video Security Solutions can handle the mounting and everything that goes with that television. If you're looking to make that smart TV active with the remote and you're trying to figure out how you can get through your apps quickly, you can do that with the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. They've hooked us up at the Palmer House with the remote that now the kiddo knows how to work. He can skip the ads on the blippy YouTube videos, which is very important to him because he's not a big commercial guy. You can get that in your house with the phones at Audio Video Security Solution. This is Mitchell Fisher's cell phone number, 225-439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions online at avssla.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, every Wednesday we head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline, chat with our guy JD Pickell, host of the Hard Count on On3's YouTube channel, wherever you find your podcast. If you're looking for your college football fix year-round, you can find our guy JD Pickell, or you can check him out here every single Wednesday. We'll talk some college football playoff with JD. Now, how we doing, sir?
Brother, I'm doing great. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird that we have talked so long about the playoff expanding and about what it would be like, and now we're getting ready to just inhale some first-round college football playoff action, man. So appreciate you having me on again. This is awesome.
I'm looking forward to it as well. I don't have to have like a strong rooting interest in really any of this that's going on right now. Generally speaking, I prefer to see the SEC lose, but I don't have strong feelings towards Tennessee or Texas at the moment. So I'm kind of looking at this going, I'll just enjoy some football at this point. So I think a lot of folks around here probably feel the same way. Let's just kind of start going through it, man. It starts on Friday in what I'm told is going to be a very, very, very freezing cold South Bend, Indiana, in-state matchup between Notre Dame and Indiana, 10-7 matchup. How do you see this one a couple days out?
You know, I have a really difficult time, Hunt, I don't know about you, getting out of my memory bank the Ohio State game when it comes to how I assess Indiana. The great part about that is I think a lot of people feel the way that I feel. They're not sure if Indiana really deserves to be in the college football playoff based on like the overall roster they have. We get to see against what I would say is a relatively dangerous Notre Dame team based on how they've played since the NIU loss. So I'll take Notre Dame there. Again, I think they're the more talented team. I think Marcus Freeman and what he's built there, this is probably their crescendo, if you will, as of right now in the Marcus Freeman era. So I'll take Notre Dame there. The interesting thing about the styles of play there, both want to run the ball, both want to stop the run. I like Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame to kind of be that explosive factor in the game and kind of separate for Notre Dame.
Let's talk about Notre Dame briefly. Basically my entire life, because I can't go back to Lou Holtz here. Notre Dame got to the biggest stages in Sugar Bowls and Fiesta Bowls and got annihilated, and then got into the BCS championship game and got annihilated, and got into the college football playoff and got annihilated. And it's always just kind of been thought that there's a glass ceiling there. They're just not. They're good. They can beat Army and Navy and Purdue, but when they get in front of the big boys, they don't really show up. Is there any reason to believe that this team is any different this year?
It's a really good question. My answer would be yes, and my answer would be that because of their path and their draw, so to speak. Like Indiana in the first round at home. Like, if you can't beat a team that won one game in the Big Ten last year that's strung together with transfers and glue, now, not to disrespect what they've done, it's been awesome, but, like, you've been building this thing for 3 years. You should be keyword, in position to beat Indiana. And then the next round, you'll play Georgia. And Georgia now, we don't know what they're going to be in the college football playoff at quarterback, but it's fair to wonder, do they play a guy in Gunnar Stockton who makes his first start on the biggest stage? Like, I saw what Haynes King did to that defense. I think Riley Leonard can do what he did. So I think if you were just to tell me that Notre Dame wins 2 games in the college football playoff, I think that shatters the glass ceiling. Like, I think that tells me, okay, you win, a win over Georgia, win over Indiana. Like, this is a new outfit in South Bend. So that, I think, has some real ammo for Marcus Freeman when it comes to recruiting and building a new Notre Dame, so to speak.
How important is this game for James Franklin against SMU in his home stadium?
Gosh, I mean, how long do you have? Like legitimately, like, it's so in terms of, we were talking about passes and draws a second ago when it comes to what Notre Dame has. If you're Penn State, like, you lose that Big Ten title game 11 times out of 10 if you have the option, knowing you get to play SMU and then Boise State for your first 2 games. Like, that is like teed up as teed up gets. So I mean, if they lose this game, I don't know if it's Columbus, Ohio levels of fallout with what would happen with Ryan Day if they lose that game against Tennessee, but like, there would be a very real feeling of like, this was supposed to be the year where we built to make the 4-team playoff, let alone they expanded to 12, and we can't win a game against a team that used to be G5. Like, if you can't beat SMU in the first round at home, when is it going to happen, would be my feeling.
What chance do you give SMU to go up there in the cold in front of 105,000 people?
I give them that's probably my sneakiest matchup, I think, of the whole weekend. Like, I have gone on record and said several times, I think this playoff is going to be super chalky. That's the one, though, with what James Franklin and Penn State haven't done in big games. I also wonder if, like, the Penn State offense maybe, like, exerted themselves as much as we're going to see them in the Oregon game. Like, if it's a situation where SMU forces Penn State to score,
sometimes wait as long as I can to see if he comes back, and then it just doesn't happen. So see if you can reconnect with him there back. I am fascinated with SMU Penn State. I don't need SMU in my playoff if we're really just trying to assess the national champion. But if I'm going to boil this thing down to a vacuum and just talking about a Penn State team that can't get over the hump and an SMU team that I don't really think should be there, I do think there's some intrigue there if it's not exactly what I want to crown my national champion. So, JD, I think we got you back now. You were talking about SMU Penn. Oh, no, Beck's waving me off saying we don't have you back. We got to talk about SMU Penn State. We got to talk about Clemson, Texas. And we also have to talk about how many Tennessee fans are going to be in the shoe. I just saw a tweet on my timeline that said that some Tennessee fan had kind of gotten into the back of Google Maps or Apple Maps and had renamed Ohio Stadium Neyland North. So apparently, because of the outrage with Ohio State fans to this point with the loss to Michigan, there's some apathy, if you can call it that, in a playoff situation. And apparently Tennessee fans have feasted on that and gone into the SeatGeek and the third-party secondary market apps, and they have bought a bunch of tickets. So it would not surprise me at all if Tennessee had 15,000 fans in the shoe come this weekend. I think that's very much a possibility. I don't know who's going to win the game, but that is a playoff game that, like, I do want to watch. I do want to watch Tennessee and Ohio State. I do think that is the type of matchup we should see for the opportunity to go win a national championship. I think the same about Texas and Clemson more often than not. I don't feel that way about Arizona State. I don't feel that way about SMU. I've told you all that time and time again. I don't feel that way about Boise State, but this is the system we've got. So these are the games we're going to look at. And I think that you can find an interesting angle with all of these if it's not that they're the best teams in the country that we're trying to get to play for a national championship. So we're talking about SMU and Penn State. The line on that game, incidentally, is 8.5. The Nittany Lions are favored over Rhett Lashley and SMU. And Rhett Lashley's been really outspoken this week about the transfer portal and all that's gone into the distractions around trying to get ready for a playoff game. And Penn State's dealing with a little bit of that too, because they've got a backup quarterback who's gone to the transfer portal, and he's a guy that they use a significant amount. So I do think we have JD back. We're talking SMU, Penn State. JD kind of putting a bow on things with the fact that you thought this might be a sneaky spot for SMU to actually win this game.
I don't know who's under more pressure, if it's me or James Franklin, when it comes to playoff performances here. Because, I mean, like, we're stringing together some clunkers on my end, brother. So, yeah, James Franklin got to win, and, we'll see what happens. But it'll be sneaky. I'm excited to watch it.
Clemson, Texas, in Austin. 12 is the number on this one. Clemson's got 3 losses, but they, generally speaking, have some 4- and 5-star guys running around out there. Do they have a chance to go to Austin and keep it close?
Yeah, I think they do. Hunt, I was surprised this was 11.5. Like, I would have thought you would have put this spread on the SMU Penn State game, just full transparency.
Yeah.
But, I think for me, the storyline here is like, hey, Quinn Ewers, this is the spot, man. Like, it's been a couple of underwhelming performances. It went over 300 against Georgia. That's nice. But, like, I'm still waiting to see Michigan Quinn Ewers. I'm waiting to see Bama from last year Quinn Ewers. Like, it's been what feels like very up and down. And so if there's ever a spot to put it all together, it's with the 12 seed coming to your place against the quarterback who beat you for the state championship when y'all were in high school and Cade Klubnik. Like, let's circle the wagons here. I don't think this is the Arch Manning game, full transparency. I think it's the Quinn Ewers game. But the weird hypothetical we could live in here is if Quinn Ewers plays poorly, Texas still wins. Do you say, hey, Arch, we think you give us a better chance against Arizona State? We're going to kind of make a pivot here. We've seen enough. We got to get better right now. So I think Quinn Ewers gets it right, but I do think that's kind of the thing to watch. But I'll take Texas overall to win the football game.
Let's go to Columbus, Ohio. Interesting stuff here. Both Knoxville and Nashville are sub 6 hours from Columbus, Ohio. And word is that the tickets are being gobbled up on the secondary market here by folks in Orange. It's a 102,000-seat stadium. Can Tennessee get 15,000 in there?
I think so. I mean, I have a buddy who's a Tennessee fan, and he said he bought tickets to row 12, 4 together, all for less than $200. Like, for a college football playoff game in Columbus, Ohio, when Ohio State, the fan base and how they should probably care about their football team, like, that to me is unfortunate if I'm an Ohio State player or an Ohio State fan that is dialed in. But yeah, I think it'll still be an advantage for Ohio State overall, like when it comes to the divide. But I would not be surprised at all, like you just mentioned, if we saw a pretty healthy dose of the folks in Tennessee Orange out there. This one is going to be real, especially if Hunt. Like, it sounds like some of the Ohio State folks are trying to get rid of their tickets based on what happened against Michigan and their feelings of Ryan Day. Like, the vibes in this one from the fan base, from the team, like, this is very, very treacherous territory from the Buckeyes.
I realize that, emotion is a powerful thing in college athletics. It's a powerful thing in professional sports as well. But Ohio State fans, they have to get over this Michigan thing. I guess they can't. It's just in the DNA and they can't. But that game is not the only game on the schedule. The other 11 did count, and you now have a chance to go play for a national championship, which also still counts if you lose to Michigan. I don't understand I get it, but I don't truly understand their obsession with 4 hours of a 4-month season. That just isn't, it's just wrong.
I had a conversation today with some of the guys in our office. If you went up to an Ohio State fan and told them, hey, you're not going to win the Big Ten, you're not going to beat Michigan, but you're going to win the national championship, would you take it? I think it's 65 yes, 35 no. Like, I genuinely think, like, that Michigan game means so much for that fan base. Losing it 4 times in a row, especially when Michigan was so down, like, that is an ultimate gut punch. And I'll say this, too. I know there's the vote of confidence from the Ohio State folks about Ryan Day. If Ohio State loses this football game, there will be a new coach in Columbus, Ohio next year, whether it's them parting ways or whether it's Ryan Day saying, dude, screw this. Like, I win 10, 11 games a year. I'm going to go be a coordinator somewhere. I'm going to go be a coach somewhere else that I can, be appreciated. Like, I get it. It's the job. But, like, I think if it goes south, I do think that one way or another, there's someone else calling the shots in Columbus next year.
And I don't disagree with that. You lose at home to Michigan and to Ohio State. I don't disagree with to Tennessee. I don't disagree with your sentiment that they could move on. I think it would be absurd. What is your view on that?
Be nuts. Oh, I mean, if it's me, I'm like, and it's hard because I don't have the Ohio State colored glasses, and so it is a thing where it's like I couldn't articulate the way an Ohio State grad could how much the Michigan game means to me. But, like, I mean, I was in Columbus, Ohio 2 years ago when J.J. McCarthy and company rolled in there and took over that place. And it was like a funeral. So to answer your question, I think it'd be lunacy. Like, I think Ryan Day, I mean, the question is, like, who are you going to go get, which everyone likes to ask in this hypothetical. Like, Marcus Freeman just got extended. I mean, he's a Buckeye, so I guess that's one guy you call and see if you can maybe figure out that buyout. Like, Urban Meyer's not coming back. He's already said that. Like, Brian Hartline's going to be a head coach, but I don't think he's the guy right now. Like, who is genuinely changing the way that game unfolds the last 4 years as a head coach if it's not Ryan Day? And my answer is I don't know if there is anybody. So, yeah, I think it's nuts, but I guess that's what college football is.
It is sometimes. Two more questions. One, who you got for your national champion before we start this thing?
I got Oregon, and it's super chalky, super square, a super boring pick, but like just the most complete team. I'm not sure that I trust Ohio State or Tennessee if they get, if they end up playing them in the next round. Like there's so many holes to where it would take one of those teams from Oregon's side of the bracket being consistent. And then the other side of the bracket with Georgia and Notre Dame being the two that you probably look at most closely if you're taking, the higher seeds outside of Penn State, not, doing something Penn State-ish. I just think Oregon just has me with the least amount of questions. So I'll take Oregon to win the whole thing. I have beating Georgia if it's any consolation. Had Georgia, Oregon preseason, Georgia winning. I'll take Oregon, Georgia postseason, Oregon winning.
Let me ask it a different way. If I gave you Oregon or the field, what would you take?
Oh, gosh. I would take the field just because that feels like, a smart mathematical approach, which makes me seem so wishy-washy and speaking out of both sides of my mouth here.
No, it's a different question.
I'm not 100%. I mean, I'm not 100% sure that like Georgia isn't going to be a better version of themselves offensively with Gunnar Stockton. And like that's not less of. I mean, we talked about it last week. That's not saying anything of Carson Beck. It's just like, do you not get back to who you want to be if you're Georgia by committing to running the football, whether at quarterback, whether it's doubling down, just saying we're going to protect this guy by not throwing it as much. Like I think that allows the defense and the Kirby pedigree to play into account a little bit more. And I'm also not 100% sure that Texas won't put it together and look like a freaking Monstars squad here once we hit playoff time. So we're going to learn a lot about this playoff format, if you will, with what the rest means for these teams and these good coaches. But I will still pick Oregon. But if you gave me Oregon versus the other 11, I would have to go with the field. Feels like just a smart move to go with.
We got Christmas week from today, so no show on Wednesday. I may run you down some other day next week and see if we can talk some more football.
Please do.
Right? Yeah.
Please do, man. Well, I owe you. So I appreciate you.
Y'all have a great Christmas with the new one up there, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, hon. Go Tigers.
JD Pickell, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports, with us next week at some point, but always with us on Wednesdays getting ready. Beck, I cannot get over this Ohio State thing. It's really, we've talked about it twice, so I'm not going to belabor it, but I can't get over it.
It's pretty shocking. It kind of reminds me of the rivalries in international soccer at times, where there are these clubs that, like, if you don't beat your main rival, even if you win all the other games, they don't care. But you don't really see that in American sports that much. I mean, there are rivalries and people care, but to this extent is kind of incredible.
There was a point in the BCS where if you couldn't win that game, you couldn't get in.
Yeah.
So I gotcha. If that's the case, we're not in that. That'd be like Duke firing Krzyzewski because he lost 3 in a row to North Carolina. Well, really, that doesn't matter that much as long as you get in the tournament and go win some games.
Yeah.
It's just blows my brain. I understand that they're doing it, but it's like you don't play the game to beat Michigan. You play the game to win the national championship. It's nuts. All right. So what if Wednesday next?
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When you think luxury, think Genesis of Baton Rouge. When you think luxury, though, don't think, well, I can't afford that. No, there are probably some luxury car brands that pop up in your brain when you think about that type of vehicle. Genesis should be right there. Go check it out. Airline at PQ. Go check out the dealership one time. Walk through. The vibes, the energy, the design, it's all fantastic. The people you will work with are first class. And then you'll get behind the wheel of that one of those vehicles, and you'll understand why. It's one of the top lines of vehicles in the auto industry. It's a luxury experience from start to finish, and it's at a reasonable price. We're talking about a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. We're talking about valet maintenance, talking about complimentary maintenance for 3 years. It's all right there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're fairly new to the game here, especially at that location, Airline and Piku. If you're looking for a new car, you're on Airline Highway, just swing by Genesis of Baton Rouge, right across from Women's Hospital, and check in. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, and get behind the wheel of one of those Genesis vehicles. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
So we got a lot to chat about today. Sharif yesterday. We were talking about Spencer Rattler today in the second hour. We're also going to talk about LSU's additions from Oklahoma. Some more hoops talk at 2 o'clock with Matthew Bruni. But for right now, it's time for a little What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right.
What are you laughing at over there? That's a bad start.
I texted my wife and my brother and one of my other friends to send me some what ifs.
Oh, God.
And I got some good ones here.
Okay.
The first one, this one's for my brother, Justin. What if the Goo Goo Dolls and Matchbox 20 formed a super group? Would they be Matchbox Dolls or Goo Goo 20?
I think you got to go the Matchbox Dolls.
Matchbox Dolls
Goo Goo 20
that's
feels
not good.
Feels like it could be
That
something.
sounds like a Korean K-pop group or like a group or something.
Dolls. Matchbox Dolls feels like an actual thing that may have happened once upon a time.
Yeah. They probably toured at some point. I would have to guess.
Matchstick Dolls, I think, is more of a potential. But yeah, that'd be a super group. Taylor Swift's records would fall pretty quickly
immediately
if they got together.
In the Taylor Swift vein, my wife said, "What if all white girls banded together and created a Taylor Swift city?"
I'd probably be looking for a third wife. Mine would probably be out the door. We'd probably
lose a producer as well. We'd be looking for a video producer.
A producer and a wife. I'd really be shorthanded with help around here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she could make it. I think at this point she's got enough followers that she could basically do whatever she wants.
Pretty much.
I think that's reasonable.
What would they call the city though? I wonder.
I don't know enough Taylor Swift songs
to
figure
think,
it out.
Cassie?
I mean, like the Taylor Swift fans are called Swifties, so I feel like it'd have to be something with
Swiftie
that.
City,
Swiftville,
New York, Swiftie,
Swiftville. That sounds like a Dr. Seuss book or something. But
mean. That's what they should call the city.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Next one.
Swift.
What if Santa was really real?
It's 140. Santa is real. Absolutely.
Okay. I get what I see what your point is there. All right, next we got some here as well, and I don't know if did you get these from the chat? You got in the
some.
Okay. All right, first one. What if you order a Christmas present for a significant other and it arrives late?
I think that probably depends.
Well, you're kind of in a situation right now.
So we got a notification. Got it shipped this morning.
Okay.
I sent a chat text. I tried to call, and they said our office is closed. I was like, this sounds like a scam to me.
Yep.
And then I went to the website, and it said you can chat with us, and I sent a chat, and it looked like a person that responded, and I got a notification that it was shipped today. So I think it's going to arrive on time. I have a buffer zone, as I was telling y'all. The wife's birthday is the 30th
as well.
So if we miss by 4 days, we're still okay on the birthday side.
That's really good for you.
It is. But I feel like there are some that would be offended. You didn't think of things early enough.
Yeah.
But at this day and
you
age,
ordered it
the
like
first.
The 1st.
The 1st of December.
That's
the deal. Like, you now have like proof of when you ordered things.
Yeah.
And I think if you've given yourself a reasonable time,
you got receipts.
So it didn't show up, and you're like, well, you ordered on the 21st.
Yeah.
Thanks. Like that may be an issue, but yeah, you gotta get that taken care of. I actually my clock starts ticking about Halloween. I'm going, okay, I've got her birthday and his birthday and Christmas coming. Like, we got to get into gear.
That's impressive, Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a choice. Like, you can't botch that 5 days. It'd be a bad deal.
All right, next one. What if Cody Bellinger wins the Triple Crown next year?
What are you
gonna do? What can you do?
They didn't really get anything for him. They dumped salary. It depends on what they do with the rest.
$5 million. That's tough.
If he wins the Triple Crown, that'll be a miss by the Cubs. There's no evidence to suggest he's going to win the Triple Crown.
Yeah,
he's a declining player.
Okay, I don't know if we should put it that way. I mean, maybe since he left
won the
Cubs.
MVP 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah. All right, next one. What if the Myers band follows Ethan Ott to Alabama?
Break my heart. I mean, just.
What would you do? What would you really like? How would you feel, Hunt?
I mean, hopefully, he's brainwashed over the next 15 years to where that's an impossibility.
You would hope.
I mean, I'll tell you, like there are a lot of people I know in my social circle who have adopted the school that their kids go to for football. I will never pull for that school to win in football, no matter.
Yeah.
If he plays for him, I'll have to reconsider. But if he just goes there and he takes Psych 1001, no, that ain't happening.
Well, one thing I'll say though is that Alabama does recruit out of state very heavily. My wife got a full ride to Alabama. She went there for a year.
I don't care.
So
I'll cut the check to Baton Rouge.
You'd rather pay like $10,000 a year instead of free college.
Yes, no question.
That is impressive.
He's not going to Tuscaloosa to go to school. That's a lifetime that he's going to be pulling for that football team. I can't take it.
All right, next one. What if you were asked to count as high as you could and you got $1 for every number? I mean,
so I have to sit on the couch and count, and as high as I get $1 for that. Man, that's just a discipline thing. Like, how long are you willing to sit there?
And let's put a caveat in that if you try to go super fast and you mess up, then you
lose. I mean, I'd probably screw up. I'm going to stutter at some point.
Unless you go slowly.
I don't know how quickly you get through it, but I got to think I could get to $50,000. Like, I'm not going to sit there and get to $2.2 million. I don't think I have
the. It's going to take you like hours.
Yeah, and I think I could get there, and I think I'd be willing to do that. I think there are some that are saying, well, why don't you sit there and count to $1 million? You can do it. Man, I don't know if I have the discipline to get it done. I'd like to think I do, but that's going to take like days. I can't. I don't know if I can do that, but I think I could sit there on the couch and get to $50,000, and I'd take the check tax-free, and I'd feel okay about it.
Yeah, all right. We got one in the chat, but unfortunately, it's already the answer to that question is already there's already an answer for it. What if LSU wears alternate uniforms for the bowl? They're going to be wearing alternate uniforms for the bowl.
I've given up. I've lost.
Look, I don't.
It's over.
What do you think though? They literally like.
I think they're going to do this until Brian Kelly leaves.
No. What I'm saying is they commented on their post about the uniform and said the bowl game like dictates like who wears like if you have to wear a darker color or something.
Maybe, but we've worn. LSU's worn dark uniforms very few times in bowl games. They wore them in the game last year against Wisconsin. They wore them, I think, against Virginia Tech in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. They wore dark, but they don't. That never really happens. So. I think Brian Kelly's going to let the players do it, and the players will want to wear the other stuff that looks stupid. So that's what they're going to do. Yeah. And I think until he's not the coach anymore, they're just going to look. They're going to look stupid, in my opinion, for half the season.
All right, next one. What if LSU stopped right now with portal additions?
They'd be light at the offensive line and unproven there, and I would be uncomfortable with that, and I'd be uncomfortable at safety. And so I think that I would not feel awesome about the team next year because of safety and offensive line. If they can pull in a center and a tackle, and then they can go get a safety that's started, I feel like this is a team that on paper looks pretty good. Yeah. But they've got to go get 2 offensive linemen and a safety. And I'll take whatever else they can find, but they've got to go get that done. So,
all right, last one here. This one's for my buddy Peyton. He says, "What if New Orleans hosted the Olympics? Could the city handle it, and would they try to sanitize the image?"
Good gracious, no.
There's no way they could sanitize the image anyways.
Now, I'll say the Final Four and the Super Bowl are phenomenal, but I feel like the Olympics is a completely different.
I mean, that's so much. That's a lot.
And so
Atlanta can do it.
This is a Colin Cowherd take that I completely agree with. There are like 6 cities that can host the Olympics. Let's just leave it in those 6 cities. We don't need to give everybody a bone and let them try to do this stuff. Like the World Cup went to wherever, Qatar, and just everyone died and it was 1,000,000 degrees. Like, we're not doing that. There's like 10 places, and that's what we're going to do. And sorry to everyone else who doesn't get their chance, but that's just the way it goes. So that's a take I would agree with. All right, let's step aside and close out hour number 1. Netflix, big announcement for SEC football. We're talking about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Love our conversations with David Duvall. He always talks about how they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. I tell you about their capabilities every day. You know that by now. You know that they do tub-to-shower conversions. You know that they do custom closets. You know they can do full-scale bathroom renovations. But one of the great things about David and his company are that you can trust that they're going to give you a timeline. They're going to operate during that timeline. And they're not going to come back like 3 weeks later because 3 things have malfunctioned, but they got to the next job and took your check. No, they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Start that process today with a free consultation. Go to OneBathAndClosets.com. Get David on the horn. Tell him the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, and start that process of a new bathroom and a new closet today. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Hopefully Hunt remembered to bring his laptop charger. Nah, there's no chance.
Closing up hour number 1 here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Netflix announced today that they will have a new series coming up in the summer of 2025 documenting the 2024 college football season in the Southeastern Conference from the same folks that did Drive to Survive with Formula One, that did the golf series that followed the PGA Tour, Full Swing. They'll do SEC football, and it'll be released in the summer of 2025. The caveat here is that there are some teams in the SEC that passed on the opportunity to be in the documentary. Alabama is out, Georgia is out, Oklahoma is out, Ole Miss is out, and Texas is out. But everybody else opted in to this documentary. I will watch it. My first thought, unfortunately, when I thought about this like unfettered access and all this stuff behind the scenes, is that I just feel like there's a lot of like questionable things that go on in college football, from like grades and recruiting and NIL stuff and like stuff that has gone on from behind closed doors for years and years and years. I'm assuming that's not going to be in it. And then I also just question how much coaches are going to willing to like divulge game plans and stuff that is on Netflix. So like, is it a bunch of like this guy and his girlfriend went to McDonald's to eat and like stuff that I just don't really care that much about? Is it like Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth are good friends? Well, I already knew that. If there's new information, like I'm in on it, and I think that it's a good concept, I just question how much access they're going to be granted and how much they're going to be able to get to the airwaves. If you're a Vanderbilt fan and this is coming out, I'm sure you're thrilled. You're detailing in one of the best seasons in the last 20 years, and you've probably got incredible access to the game against Alabama. If you're an LSU fan, which is most of you listening to me, you got the Ole Miss game, you got the South Carolina game that should be good. You got maybe and obviously Ole Miss goes into 100 years in Tiger Stadium, and you had College Game Day here from Alabama, I guess, which is kind of cool. I don't know what exactly is going to be involved in all this, but I'm sure I'll dip my toe into it and try to watch it. I did not watch the Formula One one. I did watch the first season of Full Swing. I didn't love it. I didn't go back to the second season of Full Swing. I probably should go back and do that. But I'll probably watch this. I'm curious what kind of access they get. Beck, are you intrigued by an SEC Full Swing style documentary?
I guess so, but again, like I'm with you too. If this is kind of just like a, we get
he goes
limited,
to school, and wow,
yeah.
they go, and this is how they travel on road trips, and this
Yeah.
is they go eat lunch in the ballroom at the hotel, and they do their walkthroughs.
Right.
And
I'm not interested in that. Like if we can get something closer to like Hard Knocks, that would be pretty cool. But
and again, you saw the Giants look like clowns.
Yes.
For that offseason Hard Knocks with the Saquon Barkley stuff, and like you gonna do that with some SEC team? Like I think, look, in this day and age, I think branding is important. I think that LSU's built a really, really solid brand, and I think that them having the money game is a big deal. I don't know about this. I just don't have any hot takes on something that I have so little information about, other than like, hey, check it out. And so I'll check it out, and then I'll come up with whether or not I'm into it. Y'all know, as I've just said, like I was really gung-ho on watching Full Swing. I was excited about it, and I was like, kind of already knew all this. And so like I know more than a lot of you about the inner workings of the football program, because I go to practice and I go to the coaches' offices, and I go in the football facility, and so I've seen all that kind of stuff. So that won't be new to me either. We'll see. I'm certainly not shutting the door on it, but I'm not just over the moon and can't wait to watch it. I guess I'll just have to reserve judgment. We come back, we'll talk some hoops with Matthew Verney, and then some Oklahoma with Brandon Drum. Come back after Sports Center, Hour 2 of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Michael Penix Jr. era has started in Atlanta. Falcons named him their starting quarterback moving forward, benching Kirk Cousins. The team had no choice considering Cousins' last 5 games, 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions. Penix will start his first NFL game Sunday versus a Giants team that's lost 9 straight and is banged up on the defensive side of the ball. ESPN NFL analyst Jason McCourty.
So I think that's going to enable him to get in there and not feel the pressure because the Giants are only putting up less than 15 points a game. So I think Penix will be able to get in, get comfortable, get Bijan Robinson involved, and then be able to go play action and get the ball over the middle of the field.
Atlanta is a game back of NFC South leading Tampa Bay, but does own the tiebreaker, having won both regular season games. The Giants will be starting Drew Lock at quarterback. Browns bench QB Jameis Winston, Dorian Thompson-Robinson will get the start against the Bengals this week. Colorado's signed Liberty transfer quarterback Caden Salter. Buffalo's bringing in one of the most accomplished dual-threat QBs in college football to compete for the chance to succeed Shedeur Sanders in 2025. Salter has 1 remaining season of eligibility.
Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2. Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week officially in the rearview mirror. We're working towards the weekend here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Fired up you are with us. Brandon Drum in 15 minutes talking Oklahoma transfers to LSU. Bauer Sharp and Nick Anderson going from Norman to Baton Rouge. We'll talk to Brandon about that coming up in 15 minutes. Matthew Bruni covers all things LSU 4-on-3, part of the team over there at the Bengal Tiger, and he's with us on Wednesdays. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt, doing well. Just, working, and we had to stay up late last night and watch some interesting basketball.
It was just awful. I tried to put it into words in my first segment. I don't know if I did a very good job. You watch a lot of basketball. What'd you make of Stetson there in the first half?
Yeah, they were clearly the worst team that I've seen this year, and I cover some Southland teams. I mean, we've seen different SWAC teams, like Alabama State came to the PMAC and put up a fight. So Stetson was clearly the worst team I think LSU's played in some time. So it was good for LSU to come out, start strong, and especially defensively, which this team is going to have to be, hang its hat on to come out with that level of intensity was good. But at the same time, it's just, I don't know how much we can really take from it.
Do you care at all that LSU gave up a bunch of points in the second half? I mean, they never were threatened. They scored 53 points in the second half. So was it any sort of red flag at all, or hey, they were up 50?
I don't think it's a concern. At the same time, SMU, and obviously a game with bigger stakes, also had more success in the second half. So you do wonder if there's a trend of teams kind of figuring out LSU's defense after halftime and being able to generate more looks. But I think in general, the Stetson game in particular is not one that I'm too worried about from the second half.
We haven't talked a lot about Curtis Givens. Hadn't shot it great. Hadn't played a ton of minutes. Last night he does make 3 threes out of 9. Did have 6 assists and 1 turnover. What have you made of Curtis Givens through a month and a half?
I think he's been about what I expected. He physically looks the part at 6'3", 6'4", strong, can shoot the ball. I still believe in the shot, and I think just the speed of the game is something that he's going to continue to work with and kind of figure out where he fits in as a true point guard on this LSU team and moving forward within the program. So I am still bullish on him. I think he's going to has the size to be a good defender. I think he can impact rebounding, he can defend. I think just the game needs to slow down for him a little bit.
Derek Fountain played 20 minutes last night, 10 more in the first half. Do you think he's going to play a little bit more? Do you think that kind of the rotation we've seen against some of the better teams is where they're going to stick?
For the longest time this year, I've thought they could use his rebounding, especially defensively, because they've just struggled so much on that end. But I think the offensive limitation still is just kind of too much to put him in for. Corey Chest is just significantly better across the board than Fountain, so they'll play him a lot, and then in big games, we've seen them go to the 4-guard lineup. So that kind of negates the need for Derek Fountain. So I'm not sure he really gets on the court a ton, but I still think he is a good depth piece that if they need to go 9 deep or 10 deep and they get in foul trouble, they can put in there for a little bit.
You mentioned Corey Chest, and I know you were really high on Chest coming into the season, but when Damian Collins got hurt last year, we saw a lot of Hunter Dean and Chest redshirted. Do you have a good reason why? It seems like he could have helped last year.
Yeah, I don't have a great reason. I think we've seen it, this year. His offensive game still has work to do. I think that they felt good with Hunter Dean kind of playing that 5 spot, and at the 4, they knew what they had with Jalen Reed, and I mean even I guess Derek Fountain last year. I do know that this year they added David Patrick as the associate head coach. He's been huge in terms of helping this offense and trying to set rotations and stuff like that. So I think it might be more of a David Patrick type thing. Maybe he stepped in and gave them a different perspective. But I agree. He could have helped them last year, but I'm not going to complain. That I think this is a guy that if he ends up at LSU and stays, then he could be a 5-year player.
You look at last night, Stetson tried some zone. We know SMU played zone in the first half back on Saturday, and then they had their best half when they actually went back to man. But do you feel like teams are going to zone LSU with some of the three-point shooting issues that we've seen?
Yeah, I would. I would throw out a triangle and 2. I would throw some junk stuff at LSU because that starting lineup is just so void of perimeter shooting with Jai Bailey, Corey Chest, Damian Collins. I said it before. I mean, Jordan Sears and Cam Carter have to come out aggressive, have to look to shoot the 3 ball, have to try to get their shots off. Because if not, then defenses are just going to have too easy of a time guarding them. And we've seen that before where LSU starts slow because the starting lineup just can't really find its footing. So I definitely think that teams will experiment with that, look to kind of pack the paint a little bit more. And if Jai Bailey hits 3 threes or if Damian Collins hits 3, then you live with it.
All right, LSU's probably going to win their last 2 non-conference games. You're talking about teams in Stetson's realm of the net ratings in New Orleans and Mississippi Valley State. So you look at this team and what they've accomplished in the non-conference, assuming they win these next 2 games. You lose one of those 2 quad 4s, and that's going to be a pretty big albatross on your neck there. But if they win the next 2, how do you feel about where they stand entering conference play?
I feel good. I anticipated them losing 2 or 3 games in the non-conference, so for them to end up 11-2 would be impressive. It certainly should be applauded for McMahon to have the wins that they have to this point. At the same time, they've only played 2 teams that are where the rest of the SEC is going to be, and they've lost both of them to Pitt and SMU. That's just such a challenging aspect of all of this is that, I mean, South Carolina last night just beat Clemson. It's just going to be really, really hard to find consistency and stack up a ton of wins in conference play with the caliber of competition that they have. So they've set themselves up to potentially be on the bubble if they can have a strong season, like a 7-11, 8-10. but I do caution people, and getting to 8 and 10 sounds a lot easier than it actually is going to be this year.
There's no doubt. I feel like, at least if people have listened to me, and I think if they've read you understand, what LSU's up against in January, February, and March. And I think a lot of people realize just how tough this is going to be. It's another question of how the fan base reacts when you lose 3 games in a row. When one Tuesday night you go out there on the road and lose by 31, because that stuff's coming. There's just no way for this LSU team to avoid that, I don't think. But that doesn't mean the season's over. You just have to find a spot here or there to win. And it feels like to me, and I'll let you kind of comment on this, but it feels like to me LSU's going to have to take care of the business they can take care of at home. You can't give away some home games because life on the road is going to be brutal.
Yeah, and I think Matt McMahon has proven to us time and time again that he's been able to do more with less. I mean, last year getting that team to 9-9, I still think is an incredible feat. And to get this team to potentially 11-2 in non-conference, a very, very impressive feat considering Tyrell Ward didn't play this year, and Jalen Reed has been out the past few games. So without those two, the top end talent just isn't quite where it needs to be. But at the same time, I've been wrong about games before with McMahon, and they find ways to win, and they find ways to battle. So I am holding out hope that he continues to just put on a masterclass and is able to get this team to 7-8 wins. But yeah, like you said, this is the best conference potentially of this century, and that is not an exaggeration. This conference just continues to get better. So if they had Ward and Reed and they were clicking, I would say this is a lock for a tournament team, but they don't. So now it's just going to be a battle every night.
Kim Mulkey's team's going to make the tournament. Their semester's in the rearview mirror. They're inching towards conference play here. Just a thumbnail on where you think her team is right now as they churn through the non-conference.
I think they're in a good spot. Last night was a good win over Seton Hall. Take care of business, blow them out. I think the turnover issues have been magnified. I think that's what Mulkey and company have hammered home consistently. And if they can take care of the ball and just get shots up, they're such a good rebounding team that they're able to compete with anybody. Defensively, they're going to have to continue to take steps forward. The SEC is tougher this year. It's not just LSU, South Carolina anymore. Texas is good. Oklahoma's good. Ole Miss and Tennessee are good. So it's going to be interesting, how they play the rest of the non-conference and into conference play. But it's definitely not a perfect team, but they're extremely talented. Flage, Anissa, and Michaela's finding her footing as well. She was awesome last night.
He's Matthew Bruni. You can read all his work at the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 team. He's all over the basketball beats and the transfer portal beat as well this time of year. We appreciate your time, Matthew. We'll do it again next week at some point.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Hunt.
Matthew Bruni, part of the Bengal Tiger over there on 3. We're going to talk LSU Oklahoma transfers coming up in 15 minutes. When we come back, I think that this sets up pretty nicely for Spencer Rattler, should he be the guy that the Saints turn to. I'll tell you why coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is where you can find every car that is on the lot. If you think to yourself, I probably need a new car, I hate going to dealerships. You walk in, and all of a sudden you've got just a horde of salespeople all over you talking about deals, pointing you into vehicles, going all over the lot. You don't have to deal with all that. One, that's never going to happen to you at Genesis of Baton Rouge because their brand ambassadors are going to treat you like a guest, not a customer. They're not going to treat you like a piece of meat that's got a commission attached to it. It's never going to be the case. But you don't have to go to the lot to pick out a vehicle. Start your process at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Check out some of the things you like, some of the things you don't. Get on the phone, give them a call, and have one of their brand ambassadors bring a car to you, whether that's at home on a Saturday, whether that's on the job on a Wednesday. If you just got a 20-minute break, they can come to you and allow you to get behind the wheel and test drive that right around your office, wherever it is you work. And then you can kind of see for yourself there and let them drive it back to the dealership. If, in fact, you do want to purchase that vehicle, they can work that out. They've got e-contracts, digital delivery. All that's possible. You never have to set foot on the lot to purchase a Genesis of Baton Rouge. Talking about the only fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the state. If you're looking for a Genesis, Genesis of Baton Rouge is where you need to be no matter where you are down here on the I-10-12 corridor. Genesis of Baton Rouge, check them out online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play. with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dame's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, hosted by the Goo Goo Dolls' #1 fan, Hunt Palmer.
New Orleans Saints set up for a Monday Night Football contest on the frozen tundra, which will be about frozen on Monday night. The high on Monday in Green Bay is like 23 or 24, and the sun's going to go down. So it's going to be real chilly up there in Green Bay, and the Saints have a decision to make as to who their starting quarterback is going to be. Derek Carr is not going to be available this week. It's going to be Rattler or Haener, and I made the case yesterday that it's got to be Rattler because of the upside, because of the potential, and because Haener didn't really show much in his opportunity there. And I was careful to tell you that I'm not trying to erase a person's career based on one half of football. Jake Haener was bad on Sunday in the first half. No two ways about it. And that doesn't mean his career's over, but I just feel like it's pretty obvious that Spencer Rattler needs to be given that opportunity moving forward this year. Now, we know that Spencer Rattler's first go at this was not very good. He was thrown in there against Tampa. He went 22 of 40 for 55%, threw for 241 and a touchdown. He was picked off twice. That wasn't great. Came back against Denver in the Dome. The Saints scored 10 points that day. He was 25 of 35. He threw for 172 yards and no touchdowns. He got sacked 6 times in that game. He was sacked 5 times in the game before against Tampa. So that's 11 sacks in his first 2 games. That's not very good. And then they played at L.A. The Saints scored 8 points in that game. He was 50%, 12 of 24, didn't throw a touchdown, and got sacked 3 more times. So you're talking about a completion percentage in the neighborhood of 58% or so. You're talking about a guy that was sacked 14 times in 3 games. He threw 1 touchdown and 2 picks. It was not good, and I'm not here to sell you a bill of goods that it was good. However, if we go a little bit deeper into that, how bad a spot was it for him? And we did talk about that before it happened, and it was terrible. You had both guards out and your starting center out. You had banged up wide receivers. Taysom Hill wasn't available. Like, it was awful what he was put into at that point. And you add in the fact that Tampa, who he started his first game against, top 15 pressure team, and then the 5th highest blitz rate in the NFL. That's a team that wants to dial it up. That's not a great matchup for a player in his first start. And then you play the Broncos, who generated the 2nd highest pressure rate in the league, and Rattler was pressured on almost half his dropbacks. You've got a really high-end defensive front in Denver against a mash unit offensively for the Saints. That's not great, and it wasn't great as he was, again, pressured on half his dropbacks. And then you played the Chargers, who were the number 1 ranked scoring defense in the NFL. Nobody in the NFL is atrocious on defense. They're pros out there. But there are some situations that are worse than others, and I would suggest and submit that Rattler's spot there with a terrible offensive personnel setting and the defenses he was playing against, not the best landing spot for a rookie quarterback. But now you've got a couple of weeks here against teams that may give you a better opportunity to thrive. Green Bay, while a good football team, and it's going to be a tough environment and awful conditions for a kid who's from the Southwest and played in the SEC, you're talking about a team in Green Bay that's bottom 5 in terms of pressure in the league. That's a benefit, and your offensive line's pretty healthy. Next week against the Raiders, well, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. So these next 2 weeks, at least as far as the matchup goes for Spencer Rattler, make a little bit more sense as a softer landing pad. Rattler did a great one-on-one. It was an exclusive interview with LouisianaSports.net that Ross Jackson put up, and he said, look, I have had an opportunity to kind of go back and look at that month and dive into what I did right and what I did wrong. And, of course, there are a lot of things you had to get to, but he felt like one of the things that he struggled with was his mentality. And when you go play, for lack of a better term, defensively against teams that are so aggressive, you're just playing on your heels the entire time. And you've got the Bucs breathing down your neck and the Broncos breathing down your neck and the Chargers breathing down your neck, and you're terrified to make a mistake. And he didn't throw an interception in the last 2 games. It wasn't like he was a turnover machine, but he just played defensively. And I thought if you look at the game against Washington on Sunday, that he was more aggressive, that he was more assertive. He wasn't reckless, but you were in a spot where you had to try to come back. It didn't do you any good to sit there and be passive, to check it down and run draw plays and throw it away and take sacks. It paid to go play. And it may pay to go play against teams that don't send a lot of pressure. You ought to have more time to make decisions. Your offensive line ought to have a better opportunity to keep you clean. And then you see if that arm talent can take over. You still don't have the requisite wide receivers out there. We get that. There just aren't enough guys on this team that are healthy, that are difference makers on the edge. So I don't think that Rattler's going to light it up for the next 2 weeks. But it stands to reason that it could look similarly to the Washington game, assuming the Saints can run it a little bit and they don't get into a lot of third and longs that create pressure packages. The Packers are not the best defense in the league. The Raiders sure not the best in the league. This may be the turning point for some confidence for Spencer Rattler. I would sincerely prefer if we were sitting here just breaking down how this Saints offense matched up against the Packers defense and how the Packers offense matched up against the Saints defense, and we were looking at what Tampa and the Falcons were doing this week, and we were right in the middle of a monster division race and looking towards home field advantage. We're not. We're looking at the potential future of the franchise, and we continue to do so every single day. And in this instance, I think it's reasonable to suggest that Spencer Rattler can progress and do really well the next 2 and potentially 3 weeks. Who knows? You get 2 weeks of confidence against lesser defenses. You get a second crack at Tampa. You know a little bit more about what they want to do, and you're healthier up front. Maybe this is the confidence boon that we're looking for. On the flip side, if Spencer Rattler is awful the next 2 weeks, it's another data point. It, again, doesn't disqualify him from a career in the NFL, but if you're the Saints front office and you're looking at the biggest overhaul this franchise has seen in 17 years, you need the information on Spencer Rattler. He could be part of this. And if it looks really, really bad, you start to pivot and understand that, well, Derek Carr's the quarterback next year, and it doesn't feel like his heir apparent is on the roster. Doesn't mean it can't be, but it doesn't feel like it is. If you have that information, you're more armed to go into the offseason and make the proper moves. It's tough to judge a rookie quarterback against 3 high-end defenses with nothing around him in the offense. If it happens over 5 or 6 games that are in more advantageous situations this coming 15 days, well, then you may have your answer. I'm not saying you definitely do, but you may. So to me, this is a no-brainer on who to start. This is a different look for him. This is a new window in which to evaluate, and there will be new information available to the Saints about Spencer Rattler here coming up starting on Monday. We'll start to more closely look at Green Bay coming up here, but I think this week is more about talking about where the Saints are and what they're doing. And at quarterback, it's a relevant talking point. So that's my thoughts on Spencer Rattler getting the opportunity for the Saints. That hasn't been announced. We'll learn more with practice availability coming tomorrow, and then practice availability coming up on Friday and Saturday. But I just can't imagine they would go another way. We'll learn more. We'll let you know about it here on the Hunt Palmer Show, and certainly Ross Jackson will have you covered over on LouisianaSports.net. If you're looking for Saints coverage, you can always find it, Hunt on Saints. That's been on YouTube for over a year now, and we appreciate all y'all for jumping on, subscribing, and growing that channel the way that you have. If you don't care to go to YouTube and you'd like to use your favorite podcast app, Hunt on Saints, still available for you. You can check it out, like, subscribe, rate, and view. Get our content in front of as many people as you can. We always very much appreciate that. We're going to transition back to LSU football. One of the first portal commitment that LSU picked up was Bauer Sharp, tight end from Oklahoma. The most recent, Nick Anderson, wide receiver from Oklahoma. So let's bring on a writer from Oklahoma who can tell us about these 2 portal pass catchers that LSU has reeled in. That, of course, is Brandon Drum. He'll join us when we come back on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, fantastic to work with. If you're thinking, my renewal's not until April or May, I'll just deal with that when that rolls around. Usually 90 to 120 days out is the best day to start looking at your renewal for your commercial insurance program. Highland Insurance Group is an independent agent. That means they've got access to dozens of markets, and they very likely have a client in your line of work and understand where the best market is for your general liability policy, where the best market is for your auto policy. Can you bundle them? Where does your EPL need to be? Where is your property? Who's willing to handle that? Who's got an appetite for it? They can shop around and make sure that you've got the proper rate. I tell you all the time, they're not a magic bullet. They're not going to be able to immediately lop off 20% from your property premiums. In this market, that's an impossibility, not with the proper coverage. But they can make sure that you are properly insured if something awful were to happen to your business. If you're a business owner and you're looking to get a better handle on what your insurance is supposed to look like, I highly, highly recommend the Highland Insurance Group. It's Jonathan Carbo and his team, based right here in Baton Rouge. They can help you out statewide or really wherever you are along the Gulf Coast corridor. It's the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast office products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show with former Texas A&M Yell leader, Hunt Palmer. Giga Maggies.
Transfer portal is a crazy world. Just keeps spinning. LSU has done some work in the portal over the last 7 days or so. 2 of those additions coming from Oklahoma, Bauer Sharp, tight end, and Nick Anderson, wide receiver. Figured we're going to learn about those. Might as well go to somebody who's actually watched them play a lot. Brandon Drum covers Oklahoma for Rivals. OU Insider joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Brandon, we appreciate the time. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing quite well. I know things are just as hectic up there in Norman as they are down here in Baton Rouge, but wanted a little bit of time to talk about those 2 guys. So first, Bauer Sharp. I think the main thing LSU fans know about him is that he might make ill-advised pass attempts on double throws, but there's probably more to his game than just that. What can you tell us about the tight end who was at Oklahoma for a year?
Well, he was at Southeast Louisiana to begin with,
yeah.
So he's from those parts. He's an athlete, former quarterback. He's a great athlete. I mean, he was probably utilized in the wrong way at Oklahoma. They used him quite a bit as kind of a split zone blocker and all those type of deals. But he's more of a split out. He's more of a guy that's gonna. No, I want to get this straight. He did get better at blocking as the year went on, and I think everybody saw that. I think you all saw that at LSU as well. But he's a fantastic athlete, can make difficult catches. He's just new to the tight end position. So I think if he had another year at Oklahoma, particularly with Ben Arbuckle, I think he would have been super successful. He reminded me quite a bit of I'm trying to think of a good analogy here for you. I mean, look, I don't know that he is as athletic as Braden Willis was at Oklahoma, but he's up there. So he has a lot of those similarities to me. Just a really strong athlete, really good player. New to the position, so you guys will have some up and downs with him, but he's going to make some plays where you just sit there and scratch your head and say, how the hell did he do that too?
Yeah, Brian Kelly, when he talked about him, said, yeah, he's a good pass catcher, good athlete, but we really like what he does in the run game as far as blocking, because LSU quite literally had nobody on the roster once Mason Taylor declared for the draft, and their other tight end went to the transfer portal. So they had one guy who's a former basketball player that's basically just a wide receiver.
He got better, but I'll tell you, I've watched him completely whiff as he's a lead blocker, split zone, just like literally watch a linebacker run right by him, and then he tries to go to the second level, and the play goes for no gain. So he was a work in progress. So I think you guys are going to get the best part of him. So kudos to LSU for that. Oklahoma got the ill-advised throws, the tight end screens against Ole Miss type deal, the fumbles. They got the headaches. You guys are probably going to get the all-conference version that everybody thought he was going to be when he showed up. And I mean, he flashed all spring and all fall. Such high expectations for him, and he just didn't live up to it. I think he probably will at LSU, to be honest.
Well, this past year, obviously not the offensive effort that Oklahoma was looking for. But if you go back 2 years ago, things were a lot better when Dylan Gabriel was throwing around and Nick Anderson was making 10 touchdown catches. He's now coming to LSU after missing all but 2 games this past year. What can you tell us about Nick Anderson?
He's a freak. He was a underutilized player out of high school. He came from Katy, which they just ran the ball the whole time. He's a big pass catcher. He's a guy that can be a playmaker for LSU. Honestly, like he fits the mold of what you all are used to at the wide receiver position, particularly with like your outside guys. He just kind of has the injury thing with him, though. I think he's only had 1 year, much like his brother, right? Rodney Anderson had that special year at Oklahoma in 2017 and then was injured again and kind of jetted off to the NFL after that. But just had the injury bug, couldn't stay healthy with his hip. And before that, he had kind of a knee problem and then a hamstring problem and all that type of stuff. So that's kind of something you guys are going to have to worry about a little bit with Nick Anderson. But at the same time, when he's healthy, he is probably one of the better wide receivers in the country. So there's that. It's kind of hit or miss. It's boom or bust with him. But look, everybody seems to go away from Oklahoma, and they always end up doing better than what they did in Norman. That's usually the case, right, with the transfer portal. So my hunch is that you're going to get the 2023 version of Nick Anderson healthy and making big plays for the Tigers. And if that's the case, you're going to have an all-SEC wide receiver.
Well, that's very, very good to hear. I know a lot of folks in Norman were ready to get to the end of that regular season that came to a close against LSU. What are the last 3 weeks been like for Brent Venables and that football program?
Chaotic. As you all know, the number one player in the portal is in Norman right now, John Mateer. I expect him to be a Sooner. So that's big news. Oklahoma should end up with a couple of other offensive tackle pickups here pretty soon. Some big wide receiver pickups here pretty soon. I think Isaiah Satania will be a big one they get here pretty soon as well. And then on top of that, they got a couple of big name defensive tackles that are in. One of the top defensive tackles in James Thompson in the portal is in Norman, or will be in Norman tomorrow, along with Corey Robinson, one of the top offensive tackles in the portal. I expect Derek Simmons out of Western Carolina to end up a Sooner. He's, I think, the 23rd overall portal player on Rivals. So they're doing well in the portal. They needed it. It's just been hectic with the offensive coordinator stuff and obviously the portal and, the National Signing Day and obviously the bowl game. Much like you guys, it's been chaotic and just a whirlwind for everybody that covers college football.
It has certainly been that. We appreciate you being flexible with us and taking a little bit of time. I'll let you get back to it. Thanks, Brandon.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Brandon Drum, OU insider, part of the Rivals Network covering the Sooners. I didn't want to spend 15, 20 minutes talking about all that stuff with him because I feel like you can pretty much hit the high notes there. But I felt like those answers, if you're an LSU fan, were pretty encouraging. I think he countered Brian Kelly's thoughts on Bauer Sharp a little bit. When you, I spend more time probably than I should, quite frankly, but I do spend a lot of time listening to podcasts and watching YouTube videos from other beat writers around the league. I think it helps me to form opinions and to kind of stay up on news. I know Matt does it for Around the SEC on AFR, and I try to do it so that I'm as informed as I can be. And Brandon and his crew at OU Insider is who I lean on for Oklahoma. And I think they do a really, really good job. And they talked about Bauer Sharp a lot. And I think it's probably twofold because, one, they thought he was really, really good in the spring, and they thought he would have a huge impact. And then, including Nick Anderson, their 4 top wide receiver options got hurt. And when that happened, you started to look around like, who can we throw the ball to? And Bauer Sharp was the guy that they could throw the ball to, and consequently, he led the team in catches. He's really athletic, and I think that's the highlight of his game. But Brian Kelly gets on his press conference and he goes, "This guy can really block." And Brandon's going, "Well, I've watched him, and he can sometimes, and then sometimes he whiffs." And that's just comes with learning the position. You're not pulling in, I can't even think of who the best example of an elite blocking tight end is. I mean, I think if you're like LSU, like Dylan Gordon and Chase Claymaugh were pretty good blocking tight ends in the Les Miles era, but you're not getting that. And I don't know that anybody really wants that this day and age. I think you want a guy with a little bit more athleticism, but LSU's got to have somebody that can help out on the edges to throw some blocks. And there were far too many times this past year where LSU asked a tight end, generally outside of Mason Taylor, to help with something down there, and it just didn't materialize. So I think Bauer Sharp can help with that, but if you listen to Brandon, maybe it's going to be a work in progress, and they'll have to continue to teach that. But he is big, he is physical, he's old, so hopefully he can pick that up pretty quickly. The Nick Anderson answers were, if you're an LSU fan, that's exactly what you want to hear. And I haven't talked about Nick Anderson today because I feel like I talked about him significantly yesterday as a potential add to what's already a really good wide receiver situation. If you'd like to read more about the entire wide receiver situation, I've got a column up on LouisianaSports.net right now that talks about LSU's wide receiver checklist being complete. I think they've rounded out that room incredibly nicely, and Nick Anderson was the missing piece. You needed a 6'4", potential number 1 possession-type receiver. I know what the upside is on Berrien Brown. I know what the upside is on Chris Hilton. I know how good Aaron Anderson is when he's not the primary option. I know all these things. I think Kyle Parker can be a pretty good player. I think that they have a couple of freshmen they believe in this class, in Phillip Wright and Teron Francis. I think there is reason to be optimistic about a lot of these guys, but I don't feel like I can slap a number 1 tag on any of those guys as of yesterday. Anderson's not there because he did missed the whole year with a hip/quad injury that may have been misdiagnosed, and it cost him 10 games. And I don't know what the status of that is right now. I don't. But I know he caught 10 touchdowns, an Oklahoma freshman record 2 years ago, and I watched the tape on that. He's beating one-on-one coverage. He's high-pointing the ball. He's getting open on deep routes and outrunning people. He's making catches around the line of scrimmage and making guys miss. He caught the game winner against Texas. He's legit. All that was as a freshman. But is he healthy? If he is, you're listening to Brandon and first words out of his mouth were, well, he's a freak. So I'm very, very bullish on what this wide receiver room is now. If you read my piece 3 weeks ago on LouisianaSports.net about portal needs, I pointed to wide receiver really quickly because a wide receiver room that has Kyle Parker and Xavier Thomas and Aaron Anderson and Jelani Watkins is not going to get it done. Those guys can play in the SEC. I don't want to put them in the same breath as the elite wide receivers that have come through LSU. And Nick Anderson's not there. And I'm not here to tell you that Nick Anderson and Berrien Brown and Chris Hilton and Aaron Anderson as a 1, 2, 3, 4 is the same as having Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Terrace Marshall. I'm not here to tell you it's the same as having Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and Kyron Lacey. I don't think it's quite that level, but that's the top of the top. I think this is quality enough if you're LSU, but it needed that number 1 guy. And to talk to Brandon and hear him say that he could be one of the best wide receivers in the country, that he could be a first-team All-SEC guy, that's what you're looking for. And this was a really good sell for LSU. Think about the guys you brought in the transfer portal. You bring in Destin Hill from Florida State at wide receiver. They were the worst passing team in the ACC this year, the worst. You bring in Berrien Brown from Kentucky. They have been in the bottom 3 in the SEC in passing and the top 2 in interceptions all 3 years Barry Brown's been in college. And then you look at Nick Anderson, and Oklahoma was the worst passing team in the SEC this year. So they all come from absolute dysfunctional messes, and they're coming into a ready-made offense that knows how to throw the football. They've got a fifth-year senior quarterback who's going to be the second best single season in LSU passing history. They've got now a full complement of wide receivers, Trey'Dez Green and Bauer Sharp at tight end, bringing in JD LaFleur, and you've got talent at running back as well. You got to shore up the offensive line. That'll be something I talk about probably on tomorrow's show with what LSU needs to do moving forward. But I think this is a good-looking wide receiver group, and I think that you've got a passing offense now that you should be able to lean on. And I've said that. Like, I don't think that LSU is going to be a dominant run team in 2025. I don't. If they are, and I'm dead wrong, I'll be thrilled. But I don't think that's going to happen. They're going to need to lean on the pass a good bit. And that's okay. You can throw the ball and win championships. But you can't throw the ball and win championships if you don't have really good wide receivers. And I think now they have the potential to have really good wide receivers. And that was the goal as of 9 days ago, and that's what they've accomplished here in the transfer portal in Baton Rouge. All right, I appreciate Brandon Drum from OU Insider for jumping aboard. We'll step aside, close things out. It is a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services, 7 to 10-year warranty. You don't hear that on a lot of things, but you do on the Generac home standby generators from Boudreaux's Electrical. That process can get started today. You give them a call, 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. Give them a call or check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com, and start the process. What do you need? What do you need powered? Not everybody's the same. Not everybody has the same amount of square footage. Not everybody wants the same electronic things powered. And once they figure out what you need, they'll get you in the generator that fits your needs. Then they'll get you that warranty, and it's going to be installed by a full-time Boudreaux's Electrical employee using the highest quality in tubing and wiring, and most of it's going to be done underground. And then they're going to monitor it remotely 24/7 in case something were to go wrong. That's the difference in working with Boudreaux's Electrical with your home standby generators from Generac. I gave you the numbers. It's 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. Check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com, boudreauxelectrical.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques, Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Get your picks in now for the Hooters College Football Bowl Pick'em Challenge presented by Yingling. Register at 1045ESPN.com and get your picks in by December 27th. This year's season-long champion will win $1,000 in cash and a $200 Hooters gift card.
All right, fast-moving show today. Appreciate all those that were a part of it. JD Pickell hosted the Hard Count, talking some college football. Had Matthew Bruni talking hoops at the top of hour number 2, and just chatted with Brandon Drum of OU Insider. If, in fact, you missed any of today's show, you can always go back and catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Search Hunt Palmer Show, like, subscribe, rate, and review. Looking for LSU football, Hunt on LSU. Looking for Saints football, Hunt on Saints. And if you're looking for hoops, Hoops with Hunt back activated. I was shocked at the amount of people on Twitter when we put that up yesterday that did not know that was still up and running. So we've been doing it for a few weeks now, and we'll continue to. All our basketball segments will be there on the feed. Hoops with Hunt. If you were a listener in a previous life, back in the Will Wade era, that same feed is still up and rolling. All our basketball content is right there. So appreciate you all for hanging out with us here on this Wednesday. One thing left to do, it's take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, first one here. The Charlotte Hornets gave a kid a PlayStation 5 at midcourt last night during a media timeout, and then took it back and gave him a signed jersey. They have since apologized after the video went viral and said the stunt missed the mark. They said it was a quote-unquote stunt and have promised the kid a PlayStation 5 and a fan experience getting to meet players. Take it or leave it.
I can't leave this fast enough. Whose idea was this? Who is in promotions?
There's no way.
That thinks you can bring a child on mid-court, give them a PlayStation 5, and then take it away. I mean, it's one thing if it's a minor league baseball team or something giving away a car, or like if the Rougarou gave away a truck, like that's a big expense for the Rougarou. This is a PS5 for an NBA franchise. How about just give the kid who sat down in a meeting and goes, okay,
we can't afford it.
We're gonna have this kid show up, and then we'll give him a PlayStation so everybody thinks we're nice, and then we'll take it away and say, yeah, but here's a jersey. What? Who came up with that? And then someone in the meeting was like, "Yeah, that's good. Let's go with that."
And what are they like? What were they going to do with the PlayStation? Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Bizarre. I can't even believe it's real.
Yeah. It just boggles the mind of how this continues. Things like this happen where, like, they've had golf courses that say that you win a car if you get a hole in one, and then they actually didn't have the car.
Didn't have the insurance.
Do they not think that people are always recording everything now?
Yeah.
Like, that's just where we are at. You can't get away with something, especially in an NBA arena where there's 10,000 people there.
No.
This doesn't make any sense. Moving on here, Cody Bellinger is now a New York Yankee, as we Cubs fans know. His wife, Chase Carter, a former Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, dated Giancarlo Stanton in the past. He plays for the New York Yankees.
He does.
Trouble in the Bronx. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
That's not great. I don't know. I just feel like ball players can be a little territorial in that way. Just feels a little weird. It's not like the high school team where you might have dated somebody. We're in a pretty small fishbowl here in the high school. This is the celebrity. I don't know. It just seems like that's a little bit much.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine there's not going to be any sort of. There's going to be a little bit of like just weird tension.
That's
there.
weird.
There's going to be weird tension. All right, next one. Phoenix Suns owner Matt Ishbia announced at all Suns home games for the rest of the season, they will offer $2 hot dogs, water, soda, chips, and popcorn. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. That's great. I mean, I want to know what the cold pops are going for.
Well,
I'm assuming they're not going to knock that down to $2.
I can't imagine.
Augusta does. Actually, Augusta's like $4.
They're like $4, but that's still compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean,
On Superdome, you got to take out a little.
Yeah.
But
hopefully,
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I hope this becomes a little bit of a trend.
Yes. The Falcons did it first, and they literally showed that it was successful for them. And so now the Suns are, and I'm sure it'll be successful for them. So maybe this will be like the college football beer trend that started last year.
I'm so curious. Like, I got a margarita at a hotel recently, probably in the last 3 years.
It was like $20?
Yeah, and it's like, I just started to think in my brain, like, what is a margarita going to cost my son when he's 41 at a hotel? Like, $58 for a frozen? Is that where we're going here? Like,
I don't know.
I
Maybe
realize
not.
I realize that people, in the 40s that were paying, 8 cents for whatever it was, think that we're out of control now, and that's just the way things go, and the way if you make more, you can spend more, whatever. But that just breaks my brain. That's where we're headed at a certain point, and I hope that concessions will be a reasonable expense again. Nothing else is going down in price, so maybe concessions can go down in price. But money, as we know, rules everything in the entire sports world, and really everything in the world, period. So,
all right, last one real quick. Golf Press were admitted to the new TGL League studio and got a glimpse of what it looked like. Billy Horschel hit a shot out of a bunker and said that the bunker contains sand that's only used at one certain other golf course in the world. Augusta sand in the TGL. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'm going to leave that. There's no way they went to Augusta. Well, I guess there is a way, but there's no way they actually did that.
Or maybe they just had the same source. I don't know.
Augusta sand. That sounds like good sand.
It's probably pretty nice.
Everything Augusta sounds good to me.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for us here on this Wednesday. Again, if you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. We're back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Y'all have a safe and happy Wednesday evening. See you tomorrow on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Make LeBear's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters all winter long. I've told you about my evenings at LeBear's over the course of the fall and now into the winter. It's a fantastic spot there at ESPN Bet to go watch some sports. They've got huge screens. It's fantastic seating. You can individually sit in spots that are real comfortable with cup holders, and you can eat your food right there as well. They got great group seating options as well. The blackjack table is right behind you. The sportsbook window is right behind you, and the drink specials and food are great as well. It's truly an awesome spot to watch a game. So if you want to watch college football playoffs over the weekend, want to watch the NFL coming up on Sunday, if you got a fantasy playoff game and want to have your eyes on multiple games, LeBear's is a great spot to do it. Penn's online sportsbook is now live in Louisiana, so you can score big this season at LeBear's Baton Rouge. Get on by and see him at ESPN Bet inside LeBear's. However you want to play, you must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 for help.